Hi, and welcome to What's the Worst That Could Happen. I'm your host, Abby Whitaker, and today I have Amy Paulinich with me talking all things business, exiting business, and starting new. And I'm really excited. So I'm going to get her to introduce herself a little bit more in depth.
My name's Amy Paulinich, and I feel like that's just a bit of a full stop. I feel, I'm not attached to any kind of other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I
that's
love
me.
this. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. So when I first met you, you had a business called Appetence.
Yes,
Yes.
Appleton's families, good memory.
Appetence Families. And actually, when I first had my first baby, that was when I met you. My first baby was about the size of my second baby. And I went on your podcast. You did some filming for me in yoga space, but then you went on my podcast I went on your podcast and I had my little baby with me, Billy, and it kind of feels like a bit of a full circle moment because my new baby is here with me today.
Yes.
And if she needs to be fed or whatever, she's just going to pop on during our convo. But so you had Appetence and then it got rebranded to Natural Birth Co.
Yes.
And talk us a little bit through that business.
Yeah. I get you. So it was funny. I definitely never ever saw myself as much of a worker, much of a businesswoman at all. I haven't been brought up or around that space at all. In fact, I actually remembered in uni, people who were very close to me owned a business and they were just wildly stressed. It consumed their life. And I distinctly said the words, I would never run a business. It is just too all-consuming. Your whole life is about work. And that was a big full stop. And then I finished uni, became a midwife, and I was doing that. And I love midwifery as a whole, but I'm very much pulled to natural birth, natural midwifery, helping women work with their bodies. And I wasn't getting that satisfied at the hospital doing that work, which is kind of where it all started. I still at all never had this drive towards business or this drive towards working for myself. That wasn't a concept that I just even had any knowledge about. No one around me except for that one family I referred to had that. So it wasn't a normal thing. But then when I was kind of pondering with this thought, I want to continue midwifery, but I don't want to be at the hospital, is when I just was like, I'm just going to start teaching pregnancy yoga. And got into that whole world. And that's how we actually did meet. I remember we had that coffee around the corner from Inflow.
Yes.
Because I wanted to run classes at your studio.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I think I was running classes there for a while and then I started the podcast and that was ages ago. I literally just had that Yeti USB mic and plugged it into my podcast and just went to wherever my people were and we shared a mic. And I was always so loud on the podcast because and I would like be on a table and have the mic over there and me over here so that my voice was slightly less loud in comparison to the other person because there was just no balancing. Anyways, it was hilarious. And I just kind of went from there and then things just grew. People wanted Pilates, so I did Pilates, and then people wanted birth workshops and they were talking about their birth workshops and I was hearing about them and I was just thinking, oh, I could do such a better birth workshops than I made that. And then before I knew it, I was kind of in this business, but it was never like a desire to do business. It was kind of just working in the natural midwifery space.
Yeah.
So then I kind of found myself in this business and I was loving it and I was loving working with the mums. I was loving learning about marketing and sales and learning about the cash flow and the finances and business models. And I distinctly remember I don't think you ever came to my house in the mountains. It was so rogue, but I just remember playing with the whole Mind Body app and I was in this big shift of what app do I use, and I was shifting business models, but I didn't even know what a business model was. And I distinctly remember doing all of these different courses and I learned so much in that process of Natural Birth Co, like doing so many different marketing courses, business courses, finance courses, blah, blah, blah. And people would be like, what's your business model? I'm like, I don't even know. And then they would, but what does that mean? And then I would try to explain to them what I'm doing. And they're like, yeah, so what's your model? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I do not understand. Do not compute at all. So it was just such a transition. And then as I obviously started to learn more and cash flow and trying to figure out what was working, what was not working. And I decided I'm in this business and I love it. I love doing appetence families. I've got to figure out how to make it into a life, make it into a lifestyle, make it make money, make me like be able to live on it and not be at the hospital. Because at the time, and the whole time I had this business, Appetence and Natural Birth Co., my money was coming from the hospital that I was working at. And then Natural Birth Co. / Appetence was always like my free time kind of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was on this big endeavor. It was a very decisive moment that I was like, okay, I got to figure out how I'm going to make money from this thing. So I transitioned into memberships, which was one of the best choices that I made in Natural Birth Co. in the sense of bringing it to that point. Did the whole app transition and changed it from Appetence Families to Natural Birth Co. because no one could spell or pronounce Appetence Families. It was too hard to remember. And yeah, that was big. And that felt like a massive shift in me and in the business. And that was definitely me.
In terms of the rebranding?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And all the things that came with that. And I moved to Coast Life Midwifery from Intraflow at the time.
Yeah.
Which always was confusing. But yeah, that was a big transition in the sense of me owning this fact that I'm
I was
a
going to say, I
businesswoman
feel
now.
like even just watching it from the outside, I feel like that was a time where it was like, okay, wait, this is actually my business.
Yes. Yes.
It's not my free time
Yes, exactly.
thing. It's, okay, this is going to be my business.
It was such a mental shift, yeah. And it was like rather than I'm just doing a little bit of yoga on the side. Like it was this like kind of small time, like almost for fun mentality. It was very much a shift in I'm owning a business and this is my business and I'm going to make it grow and I'm like almost like identifying with this now. And which I think is great. I think heavily identifying with something really helps you just play the part and do what you need to do to make it happen. Otherwise, you're just always playing small. You're not like making the strategic decisions. You're not thinking about things as a businesswoman. You're not, discerning your numbers. You're not pulled to go and get the training that you need to or see where the blocks are that you need to face because who cares? It's just a hobby. I'm just like in it for fun. So it was a fantastic transition and I loved it. And yeah, from there continued on, got Soph as my marketing manager, which was the best decision in my whole business. That was just amazing and so much fun. And yeah, just tried a million different ways, events, services, models, marketing things. Like I really feel like I did it almost all to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
And I remember, so we're now 2025. Last year we closed in May. And that was definitely like in Jan, it was definitely a massive time where things had definitely become better with the memberships, etc. And the podcast was going off and all this good stuff, but it was definitely still not paying me. It was very much like break even.
You're
not
still
quite.
working at the hospital as well.
Yeah. 3 days a week, still working at the hospital. And the business was paying for itself, which was good. That was still a growth because for years my hospital work was paying for the business.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then
And you did toy, but before we go into the selling of the business, or sorry, not the selling, the closing, you did toy a lot. We had a lot of conversations about a physical space.
yes, I wanted
Talk us
that
through
for
that.
years. I wanted that for years. And I was really like, I feel like I'm at this point where I mentally was so ready for it. I could see so much potential for growth in that. But I definitely like the business itself was never at the point to sustain that. And like I could have potentially just risked it and gone in, but like I still don't think that was the right choice in hindsight because it's not like there was the demand there and I couldn't meet it. Like there was so many of our classes, like some were really booked out for sure. Like Sundays were always really busy, but then like there was plenty of classes that still had 2 people in them. And like the world of pregnancy and postpartum is so tricky. And there was lots of very intentional choices about how do I want my business to look for me and for my mamas? What do I actually find that it's important? So the community was the biggest thing, that the mamas with mamas. It's just the most incredible experience. That was always something that was so pulling, and why the in-person side of the business was the whole point.
Yeah.
That was the whole point. And so mums could be with mums. And then I loved the yoga and Pilates, but that was to support natural birth. I loved the birth workshops to support natural birth. Did I want a studio, a yoga and Pilates studio? That wasn't my thing. That wasn't what I wanted. So I know we even spoke about that. Like I could, have classes for pregnancy and mums, and then open up the studio to accept other like non-pregnant, non-postpartum people. But I was like, that just isn't what I want.
Yeah.
That's like not what I want in my business. So,
and I do think that that's like an important thing that you looked at, was like, and that again that we spoke about, was that when you look at, like, say my model of a Pilates yoga studio, just mathematically, taking a step back, mathematically, the amount of people who can attend that space is vastly larger than the amount of people who can attend pre or postnatal classes.
Yeah.
And so you're putting in that there's only a certain amount of women who are pregnant at a certain time in their life for a certain amount of time that can actually attend those classes. So no matter how much of an impact of them that you have on them, you're not going to have the same person still there at those in-person classes 7 years on, like what we have at Inflow. Like it's just not, like, from a purely mathematical standpoint, is not necessarily like, is the demographic of pregnant people actually enough to fill that space?
Yeah. And answer is no.
Yeah.
It was not, because that is so right. And I think for years I was very much like wanting someone to tell me, because how are we supposed to know? Like, if it could have worked, like, it's still to this day is my dream business. Even my friend the other day was asking me, what would your dream business be? And I was like, Natural Birth Co, for sure. It was absolutely everything I could have ever wanted, except for the amount of time that it took.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the most amazing thing. But then, like, how do you discern until you're actually in it and you're doing it and you've tried everything, that it's like, yeah, there just physically isn't the amount of clients that you can have to have not only the business in the model that it was, but the idea of a studio. Like, you have so many members at one time. You might have 150 members, and like, there's just not 150 women at every single moment on the Sunshine Coast that are willing to come to classes within the
And it's
location.
not even the Sunshine Coast. It's like in a certain area, because when you have a baby, your travel time, out my baby screams in the car.
Yeah.
So I'm not driving more than 10 minutes unless I absolutely have to, but definitely not on a regular basis.
No. And not for yoga and Pilates.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I feel like when you do have kids as well, or even when you're pregnant, you actually become a little bit less reliable.
Yes, definitely.
So you might have the intention to go to a class, but then you don't, because your baby's still asleep, or they're sick, or whatever's happened, or your feeding time's out or something.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, how can you really say, okay, well, you lose your class slot?
Yeah,
you can't, because you already have that empathetic side of it, where you understand that they're a mum and that they're not going to maybe be able to be there.
Yes.
When they said that they would.
Yes. Yeah, we had none of that. We were always very understanding of that stuff, which is just part of what you have to do when you're working in a space like that. And it's what I wanted to do, but then there was obviously sides of me when I was like, fucking broke.
But from a business perspective, it's not great.
No, not at all. And it's like, this is choosing, anyways.
Okay, so basically I'll bring you back. So you're talking about that, and then you sort of like, when did you have the realization that, okay, this the part of the business that you thought might be able to bring you to a to some financial freedom, which was your membership base, was not potentially large enough?
Yeah.
Or there was no way for it to be because of this kind of these barriers within your clientele.
Yeah.
So talk us through that.
So I had definitely owned that point that is never going to happen alone. So what my solution was, because again, dream business, like
This girl is a solution-based girl. Trust me, I know. We'll talk about that more a bit later.
So true. There was no plan B. Like Natural Birth Co was going to be with me till I died. And I was so not questioning at all. Like, oh, should I close? Should I not? There was zero question, which honestly, in reflection, I've been like, that's astounding that I didn't question it at all. Like, I don't know whether it's beautiful or stupid, to be honest, because I was just like, okay, what's the next way? So my next way was to create Birth Circle, which was an online course. And it was so in-depth and it was amazing. It was an online birth course that encapsulated all yoga, Pilates, all birth prep, so deep, all birth partner prep. It was absolutely everything that I knew in one course. And it would have been amazing, amazing, amazing. So I spent all last year preparing for that. It was massive. And that was a big part of what Soph was doing with me. So there was this whole, and having Soph definitely made me feel a lot more like we're doing this, like we're doing absolutely everything we possibly can. And it was a stretch, like I couldn't afford Sophie at all. And I was obviously just making it work. But we did that and it was all very strategic. The podcast was strategic. Every single post was strategic. We were doing all of these, like we did some ads, we did all of this stuff that just felt very strategic. And I knew it was an amazing course and we launched it. We had this full launch, pre-launch, like whatever, all the stages. And this is all like a world that I had not done before, online stuff. So I felt really excited about it. And I thought this was the answer. So I thought this course is going to go off and that's going to be my income.
Yeah.
And as long as Natural Birth Co is just paying off itself, I'm happy. And I thought with the online course, because online is obviously such a great profit margin with very little expenses but really high income. So then I thought that is going to fund me, like as a, like, you know, pay my bills and stuff. And then also be contributing to Natural Birth Co so we can get our own space, etc. We're going to have an amazing space for the mamas to do their yoga and Pilates, etc. in person, and then the online space. And of course, because the whole point for me is the in-person community mamas drive. That was the whole point. So I know that from a business perspective sounds silly, like having this business to fund this other business, but that was kind of the whole point. So did that, and I remember we launched Birth Circle, and I just knew it was going to go off. I knew it was going to go off, and I was so confident. And we didn't get one sale, and I just remember like no concern. It's all fine. This is going to work. And week after week after week just passed, and again, like I reckon it took probably 6 to 8 weeks, and I was just like, I'm not concerned. It's going to be coming. And Soph was like, I love this attitude. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Let's go. And we were like fully G'ing each other up, and it was so much fun to think about. And then I remember it got to one Friday, and Lockie, my ex-partner, and I, we had broken up maybe 2 weeks before. So obviously I was in all this deep contemplation and reflective, and there was so much going on. And I was just like one day sitting at my desk by myself looking out, and I'd like woken up and it was like fresh in the morning, and I just had this boof. It's never going to work. It's never, ever going to work.
Yeah.
And instantly I was like, I need to close. Like there was no question. And this is something I'm getting far better at, and, you know, take it or leave it. But I feel intuition is so important, and I am a very logical gal that has been very disconnected from my intuition. And there have been certain times in my life that it's come through wildly clear. And one of them was to sign up for midwifery, not knowing what the course was. I didn't know what a midwife was. And anyways, got this email, signed it up because I was like, I just know that I need to do this for some reason. Another thing was starting Natural Birth Co. There was so many different times, and that was another time. It was like close Natural Birth Co. And the way that I describe it, it's just like this downward thing from above. It just goes through me and like plants me to the ground. And it's like, I feel no question. I feel no fear. I feel no shame. I feel no doubt. I just know whatever this thing is to do.
Yeah.
So, and funnily enough, the same thing happened with Lockie, like only a few weeks before. It was like just out of the blue. Like nothing triggered it. Nothing triggered this moment then. Nothing was different then from like 4 weeks ago with no sales. But I just knew in that moment, I have to close. So then I remember that day I was just like, oh my God, what a mess. What a fucking mess. And I was just like, afterwards I was, just questioning it, and my logic was like, is this the right thing to do? Like, I need to do the numbers again, get on a spreadsheet again, and like, am I sure? Is there something else I can do? Da da da. And I remember that night I went to dinner with one of my best friends, Izzy, and I told her, and I was just like bawling at Ty. We're just like, I'm telling her that I need to close natural birth coach. She's like, what? Like, it was totally left of field. Yeah, that day just went forward with organising the closure. I think I saw Soph the next Monday and told her, and then we just G'd it up. Yeah, and I just announced it. And what was it I remember August were our last classes. Yeah. And yeah, does that kind of answer that question, do you think?
Yeah, well,
Does anything else
I can't really remember what the question was, but I feel like on that, like where, so you had that drop in. Was that the first time you'd ever thought about it?
Yes.
So
Which
before
is
that, it
crazy.
just wasn't an option.
Wasn't an option.
Yeah. And then after that, you had that conversation with your friend. You probably spoke to Soph, maybe spoke to a few other people about it.
Yeah.
And then you just finalised that decision.
Yeah.
Like that was just definitely happening.
Well, honestly, even as I was talking about it, I wasn't even looking for anybody else's opinion or thoughts about it, because I just knew I was just simply informing them of my decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of obviously like seeking support of like, holy fuck, what do I do with my life? Like, this is hectic.
Yeah.
And obviously like the thing is, it wasn't even looking in the future. That just kind of came out, but I wasn't even looking at the future. It was more so like, natural birth co's closing. This is like such a big deal to my life. Like, and it was so funny because in reflection, like it was a massive part of my identity. Like I would, when you even just go to a party or something and you introduce and people are like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm Natural Birth Co. I help women and their partners prepare physically and mentally for natural birth with yoga, Pilates, and midwifery-led workshops. That's my tagline. Yeah. I will know that line to the day I die. When I'm old and demented, that's going to be what comes to mind. And that's exactly who I was. And then I definitely was able to release that identity surprisingly quickly. Like I didn't kind of feel any, who am I or what am I without Natural Birth Co. or whatever. It was extremely freeing, and I've never had something more conflicting than having like so much deep love, appreciation, gratitude for NBC and everything that it was and all the mamas, while being so like relieved and excited at the same time. Like it was such a conflicting emotion.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've never had anything like that before. I can't even describe it.
Yeah.
It was like I'm so grateful for this, but I'm also ready for it to be over. At the
I know
same
the feeling.
time.
You don't have to describe it to me. I totally get it, because it's not, it's just a feeling of obviously very different circumstances for me, but just a feeling of like that's of two completely different feelings.
Yes.
But you have like an inner knowing that okay, it's time.
Yes.
And was there any feelings of you said like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? That sort of stuff. Was there any feelings of that came into play after you kind of made that decision of, like that feeling of, put so much hard work into this, all that kind of thing. Like, was there anything like that for you?
Interesting. So obviously once I made the decision, it was still quite busy with, and like, I don't know, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but yours has obviously been far more dragged on, right? Whereas I could just close and like bang, 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 like get it done. So there was the next like 2 months was a bit busy, organizing the closure and still doing classes, and then organizing the closing party, which was one of the best nights of my life. And doing all that, and it was definitely a distinct line in the sand after that closing party. Everything was done. All bills were like paid. All memberships were sorted. Goodbyes had been done, and that was like a line in the sand. And I distinctly remember, so then obviously then I was just working at the hospital as a nurse/midwife, and I was single, and I was living in Watala, and I was just like chilling. And it was this Monday, and I've never like chilled before. I've never had this space before. And I remember me and my girlfriends were always joking about me being a lady of leisure, because despite the fact I would, work full-time hours at the hospital, I would do that over like 2 or 3 days. And then I would just be off. And I'd like days off. They're not something I had before. I had like, in school you've always got assignments, and then uni you've always got study and stuff. And then I went more or less straight into natural birth co, where there's always shit to do.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, like I just worked, and then I finished. I could do whatever the fuck I wanted. And I would like sauna and go to the beach, and it was just like the weirdest thing, to be honest. And I'd like go and have midday coffees with my mum friends who were also free in like the middle of the week at a mid-morning time. And I was just like, my gosh, I'm just this lady of leisure. And I loved it. It was so freeing. And in anticipation between deciding to close and actually closing, there was all this anticipating, oh my God, I'm going to be finally free, finally free, finally free. After just so much like wait. I literally felt like it was such a weight off my shoulders. But then all of a sudden I was free, and I just felt like this floating thing. And I definitely felt like there was this Monday where I had like stopped seeing a friend, and I'd kind of gone home, and I was just like twiddling my thumbs a little bit, and I just felt really uncomfortable in this freedom and just really directionlessness, I was calling it. And I was kind of just like, what do I even put my thoughts towards, and what do I do? So I actually, funnily enough, on a Monday took mushrooms, and I was totally sober, just at home, and I just sat in my room and I just paced back and forth for like hours. And I was just talking to myself, and I was just thinking, I was like, what is the point of everything? And I went through this massive moment, but it was very contemplative, but not negative at the same time. And I feel like some people, when they have these thoughts, it can be quite existential and sad, and like feel like this nothingness. Yep. And I don't resonate with that. I definitely just like question and be like
inquisitive.
Yeah. So I was pondering. I was just like, what is the point? I was like, before the point was to help women and their partners prepare for natural birth, and that felt like a point, a purpose, something I was aiming towards, and that's what I do. That's what I do with my time, and that made me feel good. And
it gave you purpose.
And now I didn't have that, which I was okay with not having that. But then I was like, what do I even put my thoughts towards? Like, I'm just chilling. And I just thought, working at the hospital, like, and I don't dislike the hospital at all. And I do get joy of working from the hospital, and, can definitely make some sort of like positive impact and difference there still, which is great. But it definitely wasn't like fulfilling of that cup. And then I thought like, like I cook for my friends, and I love that. And, I was thinking about all the stuff that I do for myself, like saunaing, going to the gym, going to the beach, whatever. And then I was like, do I have a kid? I was like, would that make me feel purposeful? Like the thought of that, because then I'm pondering like, what is the actual point of anything? And then I couldn't answer the question. I was thinking like, what's everyone else's point? And then I was, thinking about these people around me who are, seemingly happy, and why they're happy. Why are they happy? And often they just work jobs that they don't mind, that give them the freedom to do what they want, like such as, time in the morning or whatever it is. And, they might even have a 3-day work week, and they love that. They might have this family with kids that they get time with. They love having time on the weekend to spend with their kids, or they can go travel, and they go like 4 trips a year, and they have these like, that makes them happy. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, that just still doesn't feel like it. I was like, just so much, what's the point of it all? So then the shrooms wore off and I was still thinking about it. And for days I was thinking about it. And I think for the next 2 weeks, everybody that I saw, I was just like, what do you think the point of life is? I got so many great responses. Some were like to have fun, like super basic. Some were to feel peace. Some were to find moments of calm and contentment. Some were to be a mum. Some were, yeah, all sorts of different things. And then I kind of ended up coming to the conclusion that it actually doesn't have to be so specific and like put your finger on it, as in helping mamas prepare for birth. It can be just like to feel peace, have fun. For me, it's definitely community and connection's a big one.
I was going to say when I'm talking about that, my point, I think, is or my most important thing is the relationships I have with people.
Yes.
So that the connection I have with them.
Yes.
It's creating memories.
Yeah.
Like that, like are in your memory bank forever, and that you have with that person because that memory connects you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
So it's literally got nothing to do with business or this or that or da-da-da-da.
No. But then these other things like your business, for example, can be the car that takes you to that point.
Yes.
You know, like having these jobs, I feel like a big part of like a job, a business, whatever, sometimes it's the purpose and that's great.
Yeah.
But I think as well there's so much pressure on people doing a business or a job that's their purpose.
Yeah.
And I like with Natural Birth Co, I just fully released of that.
Yes.
I was like, that is not like truth. That does not have to be truth.
Yeah.
And you can have a job or a business that one doesn't take away from you. It doesn't like sometimes I feel at times the hospital can definitely take away if I'm around like negative people or whatever. It can be like quite upsetting and bad for the energy and leave you feeling flat. So that's not necessarily what you want, or something that like takes all your hours and you have no time for the other stuff. But then a business or a job can be just the vehicle that takes you to the things that give you your purpose, which is the time with your friends, the travel, the freedom, the space to be able to go start your day with the beach swim and a sauna if that's what you want to do, or be at home for dinner every night. Like that can be it.
Yeah.
And it gives you the money that you need. And I just am so at peace with that.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I was talking to someone yesterday and they were talking about someone they knew who was literally just sold a portion of their business for, I think it was 400 million or something, right? And they'd caught up with them for lunch and they were like, yeah, they were just so stressed. And I said, imagine having so much money.
Yes.
But spending your life so stressed.
So stressed.
Like, how shit.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. I agree. And that was a big realization as well with both NBC and moving on from there. It's like, you don't have to be the biggest and the best and make the most money. And like, I feel like I've talked to them, you know, that couple, the Fernandez or whatever, and they're like,
what do they do?
Dark Features. They do business and they have a YouTube channel and he's got tats.
Oh, I don't know.
Hermosi.
Oh, yeah, Hermosi, yeah.
Yes.
Hermosi, yeah.
Sorry. But like, you know, they have that very much like reach higher, reach better, like more money, like multi-million, multi-billion, da-da-da. And like, I love that and I love listening to them. But that's definitely not what I want nor need.
No.
And like, don't get me wrong, I love
and
money.
it doesn't make it right or wrong, because this is actually something I realized last year as well, is like, you know, okay, well, what do I want? Do I want to have a bigger house and like a bigger mortgage and or even just a bigger house, like even like make more money to have a bigger house? Or do I want to have more time with my kids? Like, is it important for me to have multiple millions of dollars? Or is it just important to me that I can afford to buy the food that I want to buy, that I can afford to buy the clothes I want to buy, and that I can afford to have a house, a roof over my head that feels comfortable and cozy and like home.
Yeah.
And that I can afford to like school my children and stuff.
Yeah.
Without like all this excess money. And like
all this excess.
Even back to that couple I was saying about, the stress couple, I'm like, they can't spend that money in their lifetime.
Yes.
Like, what is the point?
What do you do with 400 million?
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm not making it wrong.
No.
Because everyone has their own thing. But for me, it was such a big realization that I was like, wait, you don't have to have a friggin' a franchise of Pilates studios that makes you hundreds of millions of dollars.
No. You don't have to be the studio or the NBC or the thing.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's framing the money. Money is the vehicle that gets you the other things that you want. And like, if you want, a big house, a fancy cut, that's sick. And
I still want those things, but
yeah, totally.
I don't
business class, yes, please.
need like $1 billion.
No,
Yeah.
no. But I just think it's like the reframe, and like whatever you do need, that's what you need. But it's the reframe of, you're not chasing the money, you're chasing the thing.
Yes.
How do you make the money that gets you the thing?
Yes.
Because that just keeps it in balance. Otherwise, you just get like obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And anyways, actually, that's not really relevant to anything I've been going through, to be honest, but just a side note.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so you had this mushy trip, which I actually love. It's a theme in my life at the moment. All my favorite people using shrooms to solve the world's problems. And you kind of came to this realization it didn't need to be helping. I was trying to remember your script.
Like, so specific.
Yeah, so specific. Yeah.
So with that, so then I came to the point where I was like, okay, what do I actually want? Like, what are just the simple basic things? I definitely want freedom. And that's interesting. That's not been a really strong value of mine before, until I was so restricted by like Lock, NBC. And then I was free of that. And I was like, whoa, this feels amazing. That I was like, that's something that's super duper important to me to never lose again.
Yeah.
And health is always one. And that travel is really important, because really, like with NBC, I hadn't traveled in like 4 years. And I definitely, like with COVID, it was fine and no one was traveling. Definitely the last year, I felt like sorry for myself. And I hate feeling sorry for myself.
And that fits into that freedom piece as well.
Yeah. I didn't have the money and all the time. So I was like, that's a value of mine right now. So then I was kind of like, okay, so that's my point. That's what I'm aiming for. That's some sort of direction. So then I remember we actually had that girls' weekend away, and I had thought of the idea of like helping people in their businesses, being a VA of some sort. Not even specifically a VA. I just thought of like helping people with their businesses essentially.
And this, can I just frame that this came from the fact that when you had your business, you had a few VAs and a few people who were trying to help, but you never really found, except for when it came to Soph maybe, but you never really found that person. And so I'll just say that.
That's exactly right. And also with that, coming out of NBC, I was very much like, I love midwifery. Like, I'm very passionate about it, but I was actually quite willing to close that chapter of my life. And I was quite willing to let that part of me go, and that be like a cool retrospective thing. And what I found with NBC was that I actually really loved the business, the finance, the marketing, the business strategizing, the models, that side of things, very interesting. And I really enjoyed that. So then I was kind of thinking, because obviously I'm working at the hospital, that's not what I'm going to continue to do forever. And I was like unsure what I was going to do, but I think it's going to be in that sort of world. So then I'm thinking, I want to somehow be learning from people who have successful businesses, run successful businesses, are making money from their businesses, and see how they make decisions, how they assess things, how they adapt, how they grow, how they change, how they run their team, etc. I really just wanted to learn from them. So it's kind of got this all mingling in my mind. And before our girls trip, the thought of working with someone else's businesses had popped into my mind, but I definitely had this thought in my head, which was just truth, is that I feel like I know a lot and I feel like I learned a lot in NBC, but at the end of the day, my business failed. And I'm okay with the fact that it failed. It did. And that made me feel a little bit rich in offering my help when I'm kind of like, how the heck, like, why are they going to think that I'm going to be helpful if I couldn't even run my own business? So then, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And that's like a big, like, that's the reason that I say I just couldn't figure out how to make it work. So then I definitely felt like I didn't even vocalize that out loud to someone, because I felt like someone would be like, Why do you
Which
think
is
you
so
can help
funny
people in
because
their business?
when I think of it, I'm like, the reason that business didn't work is literally because there's just not enough pregnant people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Full stop. It's got nothing to do with anything. But what I do know about your personality is that you like to solve problems, which is why I can see why every time something didn't work, you were like, okay, well, what's the next step? How are we going to go next? How are we going to go next? But it's interesting that your experience was like, people might think, have this thing of like, well, she couldn't make it work for herself.
Yeah. So why would I hire her to help me with my business?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was definitely something. And it was interesting. So on that girls' weekend, and I was talking about my whole mushroom trip of what's the point of life. And I was trying to figure out my next steps and like, what do I do with myself right now? Mm-hmm. And like, I was happy in my experience, but just trying to figure out what's next.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you guys that I really want to travel and I really want to go overseas. I don't want to stop earning money. I want to continue to work. I'm not interested in backpacking, etc. And then I also had this side note of working for, like, learning from people who do business already and kind of entertaining that flame that I can see that there's something out that I could potentially do long term, but I don't know what. And then you brought up the VA idea, and definitely that coming from you, who obviously has a business, and you thinking like, of course you'd be a great VA. And I'm kind of like flattered by that because I was almost embarrassed to bring that up. Definitely gave me like that oomph to go get it and to like, yep, I feel insecure about this thing that doesn't exist. So every time it arose, I was like, that doesn't exist, just a thought. But sometimes you need that proof that the thought isn't true, which is what that did for me in that moment, you know?
That's nice.
Yeah, it was, I distinctly, we were at that little cafe, you know, and like something's impactful and you just remember the picture. So I like pushed that aside and just went balls deep into that. Yeah. And then, went and did it.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Awesome. So you did your VA, you launched, I remember there was a lot of conversation around social media.
Yes.
Because you'd taken yourself, and that was one of the things that you felt really relieved about with Natural Birth Co was that you didn't have to be on social media. You didn't have to figure out all the social media stuff, blah, blah, blah. Not figure it out, but like
do it. Yeah.
And there was a lot of conversation around that and how you were you kind of wanted to just you didn't want it to be this big blown out VA business. You just wanted enough to sustain you now and into the travel.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think that it was really cool how clear you were. Like, I don't want to live like on a shoestring. Like, I'm not doing backpacking. That's not what I want to do when I travel. How am I going to like, again, find a solution for this? So how did you go about, once you'd kind of thought, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. How did you talk me through what you did? How you managed this social media thing?
Yeah.
And
went about it. It was funny because, as you say, the clarity, I have never been more clear in my life than I have in the last year. And I feel like after so long, I feel like so long I wasn't following the signs for a good couple of years. I was being far too logical, far too attached to certain ideas. But this is how it's supposed to be. This is what's supposed to work. That I feel like I've just fully released all of that and have that cutthroat clarity. So you're right, with NBC, I found the social media. Like before Natural Birth Co, I wasn't a social media gal at all. It just doesn't bring me joy at the end of the day. And doing it with Natural Birth Co, obviously I was so consistent on it, and not gonna lie, like the social media was on point for NBC.
Yeah.
And a lot of it Soph took over, and even before that, my other VA who was still good was Simone. But then obviously I'm still on there, I'm resharing the stories, I'm answering messages, blah, blah, blah. And I just don't like it. And that was something I was frothing hard after closing Natural Birth Co. That was the first thing I told everyone. I was like, I'm deleting social media. I'm off it. And I deleted it and didn't go on it for a good like 5 months or so. I was just like not on it at all. And I loved it and I didn't miss it for a second. So yeah, with this VA thought, I was very clear that I didn't want that to be a thing. And I also felt a lot of relief in the thought, because that was another thing actually, is that with NBC, I didn't want to, like NBC, you were constantly looking for new clients. that's exhausting. That is exhausting. Whereas what I do now, it's like I have 3 clients and that's it. And I'm just working for them and I'm doing that. And I'm not having to look for other clients. I'm not even having to showcase what I'm doing or anything.
Yeah.
And the only reason would be for like, you know, developing some sort of a name or being big or whatever, which I'm just like not interested in. So that's really cool. Or like having, again, that like identity, like if I wanted to be getting out there that, you know, this is what I do now.
Yeah.
That would be helpful, but I don't feel that.
Yeah,
So,
I think that it's cool. It's been cool to see you, because even just through this conversation, I've picked up on a few things that I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense, because, you know, you talk about this intuition and like this kind of like innate knowing of something. And I remember that when you started the VA stuff, you were kind of like, I don't need to do that because I know I'm just going to get the right people. Like I just need this many.
Yeah.
This many hours, basically, essentially. And that's exactly what you've done.
Yeah.
And can I just say that Ames is like the best VA, OBM, well, we call it probably a business manager, it's more an online business manager that I've ever had. And I also just like, don't try steal her from me.
They couldn't even if they tried out.
Yeah. But I actually didn't hire Amy straight off the bat. After that, when she first started her business, it was actually quite a few months later that we said, okay, let's give it a go. And I was reluctant to do that, which we had a conversation about, just because, like, you know, friendship, you don't want to mix that. You don't want to, like, any issues to have. But if anything, it's probably brought us closer together. I think that you understand me more. We have great line of communications. I understand you more. I know you better just through working with you. And, it's been really cool to see you, like, evolve. And now you've created something that you can go traveling with. There's also really a cool thing that I think that I really admired about you is that you picked up some clients and then you've been very quick to kind of drop clients who haven't felt right. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when it came to the whole, as you say, social media thing, getting of clients, I was being very stubborn to the idea of not like posting heaps and heaps. And I did surrender to making Amy Paulinich, online business manager, Instagram page, and there's literally like 2 posts or something on there. And I was so lucky to have NBC because I just collaborated every post with Natural Birth Co, who obviously has its own audience. And again, knowing I only need 2 or 3 clients to fulfill the hours. And that's not that hard. Like, that's not that many people. So I had such a huge influx initially and hired a bunch. And it was very interesting initially. There's been probably 3 clients that we've parted ways. It was just very clear within the first month. And again, I just feel so trusting of myself now. And I think I know that I know. Whereas before I used to always question myself and I always felt like I needed somebody else to tell me what to do. And that was something I was waiting on for years, like with NBC, like, can it work? Can it not? Like, is there enough mamas? Like, da-da-da. And I just would like put the sword down and I just decided and it all just changed, which has been so interesting. And I think that's something that I've really realized as well is that you can change like that. Like, it doesn't take that long. If you want to change, you just change. Like, it's really not that big a deal. And I just knew, and with working with the clients, and I'm learning so much more about myself, I realized what was not going to work. So, for example, attention to detail, as you know, is not my strong suit. I've put out stuff with fucking spelling mistakes or punctuation errors or whatever. You know, margins might be a bit out. That's not my strong suit, nor do I think that that's important, nor do I want to waste my time and energy overthinking and being a perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist by nature. So if that's something that's important to the business owner, then we're just not going to work.
Yeah.
The thing that I knew so clearly when entering was that I do not want to be micromanaged at all. And you were the best for that. That was like so much fun to realize at the start. You were my first like proper client that I was like, this is going to work, you know? And obviously Caitlin's been there, but that's far less hours. But I do not want to be micromanaged, and I'm very much capable and wanting of being given responsibility and tasks and like roles. And then I'll go over here and do my thing.
Yeah.
And I'll get it done and I'll let you know. And if you want to like look at anything, that's fine. But I don't like having to get everything checked and like this kind of like watching over thing. That's not what I'm willing to do. And I understand that some bosses work like that, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But
and
I don't
some
want
people
that.
need that.
Yes.
I've worked with people who actually need that, and because I'm not like that, as a result, it's like they're not really getting the stuff done.
No. And they feel like no guidance sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, that's like why we work so well, right?
Yeah.
And
but there's also been things along the way, like I remember you called me and you were like, hey, so I'm actually finding that like managing, like clocking my hours and stuff is not really working for me. And this is how I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yep, cool. Let's just see if it comes to the point where I feel like you're just like taking the piss, basically.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
I was like, valid.
And that's only because I've worked with people who have needed and wanted more guidance from me, and that's just not who I am or what I have capacity for right now.
Yes.
And then that as a result, it's been they've under-delivered, and then I felt like ripped off, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but again, admire that you had that conversation, because I could have turned around and gone, well, that doesn't work for me, so you just lost your client. Like,
yes,
you know?
exactly. Yeah. And isn't it funny where our communication, particularly my communication, has become so much better?
Yeah.
Definitely before, my communication wasn't as good, and that was for a variety of different reasons. But that was something I've definitely just in myself become far better at. But as well, when you hit me up to start working together, you said, this is really important to me that you tell me like how you feel. And I remember being like, she's calling me up here. Like, I get it, because in the past I haven't communicated, and I've been like, yeah, I hear I'm on the same page, which is why I was like with that chat. And because it's been interesting. Like, it is a whole other business that I'm having to navigate. This podcast is brought to you by the AW Academy, a brand built for ambition. Designed for dreamers who seek success and strength in every endeavor. Check out the link in the show notes for aligned products, courses, and free materials.
So from my perspective, it's been really nice to watch you, because I feel like you have this confidence. And yes, the communication, I feel like I haven't felt any issues with communication at all. And I think that that's obviously so important. And so where do you feel like that it is at the moment in terms of like as a business, or like what's your kind of vision? Is it just a vehicle for now to allow you to travel and do that, and you'll kind of figure it all out as you go, or what are you thinking?
It's so interesting, Abs. So not going to lie, so we started with me being a virtual assistant, right, is what I was calling myself.
Yeah.
And again, it never, ever felt right, but society just loves labels. And I am just in such a labelless state of my life right now, where everyone's begging for these labels for these relationships and jobs and shit. And I'm just like, I don't know what to call it. So then as it adapted, and as I was working with you mainly, and as I was working with other people and realising like what I'm kind of okay to do, what I'm not, definitely being an OBM felt a little bit more right, but it's still definitely not the right fit. Essentially, I just do whatever anybody needs help with in their business.
You're like a fairy, you're actually a unicorn. You're a unicorn.
Ah, thank you.
For people in their business, if they're the right people for you.
If they're the right people, yeah. Like even at the moment, I've got this tiny homes client. Have I told you about them at all? Oh, and I love him. I love the business. And it's again another situation with you where I almost feel like I'm just an extension of your guys' mind to then there's, being a business owner is such a huge role. And quite often you're like this jack of all trades. You could be doing anything from like high level business strategizing to emptying the trash to replying to, this measly email. Like, there's such a variety of things that like, and I know at the start we were talking about packages. What's my packages? And I was kind of like, I don't really want to be like, I'm going to do this podcast, this amount of social posts, blah, blah, blah per month. Like, it just never felt right. I just want to do whatever's got to be done.
Yeah.
And allow that to shift and change as the business shifts and changed. And like, you know, with you, like some weeks I'm like heavy into just doing podcasts, and then I'll be doing like AW stuff, and then I'm doing Thrivecart stuff, and I'm doing technical support, then I'm doing social media stuff, and then I'm doing like, you know, managing other things. And there's so much variety, and I love that. That's something I really love. And I had thought that initially VA OBM was going to be this vehicle to help me travel and work for people who are running businesses, see how they do things. And I definitely didn't think I was going to like love it. I thought it would very much be a job, which I was okay with. But funnily enough, I'm kind of obsessed with it, and I actually love it. I love it. Isn't it fun? And I just think, I feel like I've got the pros of being a worker, not a business owner, with the pros of being a business owner. I feel like I've got, like, I literally do what I want when I want. I've got so much freedom. I don't.
You problem solve. Like, I was just thinking you problem solve, but it's not for your own business where it's relying on you to do it, and it's got that energy of, if I need to get this done, I have to do it. It's kind of like that satisfaction of like problem solving for someone else, but then you can just be like, cool, I'm going out to dinner now. Don't need to think about that anymore until tomorrow.
And so it's like, the pros of being a business owner, where I do feel purposeful, and I feel like I'm definitely integrated in your business, and I want to feel part of the team, like important, an integral part of the team. And that's something with the hospital, which has been great, but I'm just so wildly replaceable. Like literally nobody knows my name. I walk in, I walk out. I don't talk to anyone on my break. I can just call in. I don't even have to call in sick. I literally just cancel my shift the night before. I log into an app, press cancel, and I don't go in and no one questions. Like, I'm so unimportant, which has been great. But like, I don't feel like that with your business. And I want that responsibility. I like being responsible for things, and I like having a role, and I like being like needed.
Yeah. I do actually feel like with Move, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, that you could probably take it over and run it and nobody would notice. So that's actually cool. That's the first time I could ever have said that in any of my businesses before.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, isn't that special?
Because you're kind of across everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it has been, again, everything's just divine timing at the moment, and everything's in flow, where I feel I started this role, which was very new for me, and I definitely was like a little bit not wanting to stand on toes. Like, I didn't want to take too much control, and then the business owner's like, whoa, like, you didn't even check with me, and that's wrong or whatever. So I definitely was a little bit nervous with that. And I remember this distinct moment where I was like, I need to stop pussyfooting around and just go do the damn thing that I know that I need to do.
Yeah.
And I told you that. I was like, by the way, I'm going to start doing this. You just tell me if I overstep. And I remember there was this one time where I did, it was the fucking poster situation. And I ordered these.
Yeah. The poster. I feel like the poster's like a...
The poster debacle was
like
just ongoing. It was so funny. And I had ordered it, and they were quite expensive. They were like $200 or $300. And obviously I did that wrong QR code, blah, blah, blah. And I just felt so like, I fucked up. And I said that to you. And then I said, tell me, like, because I just went ahead and ordered them, and I paid for them obviously on your card, and I didn't check with you first. And that was me trying to like be assertive.
Yeah.
And then you didn't reply to me for ages, and I was like, oh my God. And I was just thinking like, that was too far. It was too far. And then I was like, hey, Abs, I wanted to let you know, I was trying to be assertive, and I really apologize if I overstepped. Like, definitely feel free to just let me know, and I won't do it again. And you were like, dude, chill. You did the right thing.
I was like, I had a baby 3 days ago. Yeah. I just don't really care. Like, just make a solution. Like,
and you're like, sorry, I'm not at your beck and call to answer your voice note to make you feel secure again. It's fine. And I was just like, a hot minute. It was so funny. So that was a moment where I was like, good, okay, this is working and just take charge. And then just before you had Maxie, you had like given me all these tasks, and it was definitely like a level up. And then you were like, by the way, I hope it's okay that I'm just giving you control to run all of my businesses right now. And I was like, good. That's like the permission. I felt like I needed permission. And then that's just taken off and been so great and easeful. And I feel like that's given me this level of confidence. And definitely at the start, and I was even just saying this to Caitlin the other day, I was like a bit, definitely insecure. Am I doing a good job? Am I not? Like, am I doing the right thing? And am I not? And I would like reiterate to myself, I was like, Abby's priority isn't to reassure me that I'm doing a good job. She doesn't know that I'm feeling insecure. So it's like if I'm not getting this constant like, wow, good job, Ames. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not doing a good job, which is a funny pattern that I can tend to do like throughout my life, which is so funny. And I say this is
but maybe it's like words of affirmation.
Yeah.
It's also, it's also important for me as a business owner. I wouldn't really call myself your boss, but like in a leadership position across all my businesses and everyone who I have doing stuff for me and stuff, like it is also important for me to figure out what people need to be reassured.
Totally. And I definitely don't need that now because I feel confident that I'm doing a good job. And you have given heaps of words of affirmation and told me that. Definitely at the start, I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing and definitely felt more insecure, which is why I needed that.
It wasn't noticeable. I didn't know you felt like that.
Oh, that's so funny. I fake it till I make it, that's for sure. Yeah, where was I going with that?
I feel like you were saying that you needed that bit of that permission slip to like kind of be a bit more assertive and
yeah. And now I feel like I do that easily and I'm happy to. And then with working with this tiny homes guy for the last like 3 weeks or so, I just definitely have like gone balls deep, and he is just so busy.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I've probably never met someone so busy before. He is literally running throughout the factory, just constantly doing da-da-da-da-da-da. So and there's not much time for me to like double check things. So and like whenever I do, he's like, yep, send it, done, yep, good, yep, go. And I'm like, fucking, and I just like get it done so quickly, and I just do it. And it's, I definitely couldn't have handled that before having this gig with you.
Yeah.
And I just feel so like stoked with my role. I feel so happy with what I do that who knows what's next. But at the moment, it's the vehicle to get me to Portugal. Obviously, I leave like next Friday.
Yeah.
Continue to work with amazing business owners, see how they work, how they operate. The things that I really want to focus on is sales, logistics, and cash flow. They're like the three things that I feel I need to learn about the most.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah,
Go from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like we should wrap it up, but I think that you're such a shining example of like someone who's like had a business and like let this be a permission slip for people to know. Well, I'll say what the permission slip is, but you're a shining example of someone who's had a business. You've realized it's not working. You've been brave enough to let it go, and you've done that with like such grace and ease and just a knowing. And then you picked up something else. You haven't put pressure onto that something else. You just let it flow again. And now that something else has become something that you really love. And I think it's like such a permission slip for people if you feel, I think like, yes, businesses take hard work, but if it feels like you're pushing shit up a hill, then like maybe it's time to look at it and think like, we've got however many 90 years or 100 years of life. Like if that is causing stress and you just, just not feeling like it's flowing anymore, maybe it was just there for a season.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll do this business managing for a year. Maybe you'll do it for 5 years. Maybe you'll do it for 10 years. Who knows? And I think that it's important to know when it's time to let go of something and not make it about, oh, I couldn't make it work, I'm a failure, anything like that. Because when you're talking about being a failure, it's like, well, what about all the people you impacted?
Yes.
Like, the only part that failed was that it wasn't financially viable, really.
Yeah.
But, I think that you're a great example for people that it's okay to do that. And you can, when I look at you now from 12 months ago, like you're happier, so much happier, so much more confident. And not that you were ever lacking joy or confidence, but like I'm talking about not just in your business, not just in your work. You've made those changes across your whole life. Like it's a ripple effect across everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just really proud of you.
Thank you.
Is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you would like to add?
One thing I just want to almost like fixate on is just to be willing to change. Like people get so scared of change and like, you know, finishing natural birth could like letting go of the identity, like just change, like stop holding on to things, stop being so attached to things, like letting go of this idea of even being a businesswoman, like, and like obviously it's kind of come back, but like it was being so willing to change, letting go of this identity, letting go of even this like super wholesome yogi thing, like just let it go, just like be willing to change.
Even for you, it's like, yeah, you owned a business and now you're helping business owners.
Yeah.
And someone could look at that and be like, oh, well, now I'm like, you know,
Demotion almost.
Demotion.
Yeah.
But it's actually, that's not actually the case.
Yes.
It's like you've gained freedom. You've gained.
And I get so much more money than I used to, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like and that's like, I guess that idea of success you were talking about. So like maybe as like a status or something, it might seem more of that like demotion type of energy. You know, I'm working for someone, I essentially have a boss. But then, yeah, wild freedom, so much more money, so much more time, so much more energy that it's like, who's the fucking demoted one here? You know?
Exactly.
And I think that, again, that's like that.
Making me want to become a business manager.
Like it's that's that willingness to change and like just see it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think maybe your books are closed. Maybe you have space if anyone wants to reach out. Show info in the show notes.
Yeah, definitely worth reaching out. I am definitely full at the momento, but it's always worth reaching out because things change. And I know for a fact when I'm done with Portugal, I'm going to be working a lot more. Yeah, so there'll be more space for clients.
Awesome.
Yay!
Oh, thank you so much, James.
Thanks for having me.
No worries.